Am I the evil for diminishing a friend or rival's victory in a half marathon because her condition gave her an advantage? I have been a competitive runner for a while now, usually running several marathons, half marathons, etc. in a given year. I know many other local runners as well. A while ago, I ran a half marathon, which is locally a bit infamous in the running community because a long stretch of it runs along the coast where a massive sea lion colony is. It's a mostly uphill stretch too, so you're breathing heavily and inhaling it. And it's held in the summer here. The stench is so bad that it quite significantly impacts most runners, sometimes severely. Bad enough, I questioned if I wanted to even run the race this year. But I thought I'd give it a try. Well, I ran it, and it was worse than I even remembered. One woman even threw up, but I staggered my way through it and ended up finishing in second place out of a field of a few dozen. Not bad, but the winner was someone I knew. We've talked a few times in the past. Usually friend, but she's a rival. And I usually finish well in front of her at other races. I know she has anosmia, little or no sense of smell. So she set a big advantage here that none of the rest of us had. When she started gloating a bit afterwards and saying how much she improved and how she finally beat me, I said that it should really come with an asterisk. I mean, the organizers have rejected the pleas to move it, saying it's a unique feature and part of the history of that race now, and even forbid runners to use nose plugs, vapor rub, attempts to cheat their way around the obstacle. Isn't anosmia the ultimate unfair advantage? But she got surprisingly upset and said I was just jealous and I had no right to insult her for a disability she can't control. I was surprised others took her side too. Am I the a-hole? Too long didn't read. Ran a half marathon past some smelly sea lions. Got beaten by a woman with anosmia. I told her it somewhat delegitimizes her victory. Now for the top comments. Here's a comment from Exploration of Space. You're the a-hole. Would you complain if someone that is the same height as you has no longer legs because that condition gives them an advantage? Of course not. You're being a sore loser. Here's another comment from Stella Blue 925. Hoping on top comment to say, also take into account that this woman cannot smell anything. Not just stinky sea lions, but delicious food, flowers, clean clothes, etc. I'm guessing for once in her life, she can finally see some good in having no sense of smell and gets torn down for it. Opie, you're the a-hole. A sore loser and bully too. Here's another comment from Avada Kedavra Snitch. I mean, it could be dependent on the situation because I've never really been able to smell either, but I'd say my sense of taste is pretty good. Although I hate the taste of chocolate and cereal and other things most people tend to be fond of in favor of more mild snacks, so take that how you will. Next story. Am I the a-hole for having my mom come over after my wife gave birth? I, 30 male, and my wife, 30, have been married for a year. My wife gave birth to our newborn son 3 weeks ago. We were both very excited, but my wife's mom had passed away a year before we got married, so she was quite upset that her mom wasn't there. So, she didn't want my mom to be in the delivery room, which I could completely understand. My mom, 58 years old, wanted to be in the delivery room, but she was okay with my wife's decision after I told her about it. My wife and my mom get along okay with each other, so everything was fine after that. So a few days after our son was born, my sister-in-laws, 24 and 27, came to see my wife and our son. My wife was okay with them coming over and didn't mind. I didn't have a problem either, so everything was fine. But my mom was very excited and wanted to see her grandson, but my wife hadn't invited her or anything. So I thought my wife had forgotten about my mom and invited my mom to come over and surprise my wife. My mom came over and stayed with us for a day. I am doing everything like cooking, cleaning, and other household stuff for the last 3 weeks to give my wife a break and time to recover. So, she didn't have to take care of my mom or anything. But after my mom left, my wife was upset with me and told me I shouldn't have invited my mom like that. and that the first few weeks are very important to have time with the baby, so she didn't want any guests. But my wife was okay with my sister-in-laws coming over, so I felt like my mom was being left out of our son's birth. I thought my mom would be more helpful than my sister-in-laws because she went through the same experience unlike my sister-in-laws, but I am feeling guilty about this. So my question is, am I the a-hole for inviting my mom? Now for the top comments. Here's a comment from May3791. I invited my mom to come over and surprise my wife. You're the a-hole, dude. There is nothing here to indicate your wife would be happy about a surprise visit from your mom. The only reason you'd make it a surprise seems to be because you knew your wife wouldn't want your mom over. Also, a surprise visit when your baby is 3 weeks old? That alone makes you a-hole. Another comment from Moon Spider XX. Diz. How does anyone think a surprise 3-week visit is okay? And why didn't OP ask his wife if she'd forgotten to invite mother-in-law over? Very much you're the a-hole on this one. Edit. Okay, I'm still too lazy to look up how to do strike-through text, but it's been brought to my attention that I can't read. I don't change my judgment since OP still needed to ask his wife before inviting mother-in-law. Well, maybe I downgraded from very much you're the a-hole to just you're the a-hole. Another comment from Moonspider XX. Wow, I really read that wrong, laughing my ass off. Still, OP's communication was lacking. Surprise visits aren't okay in this context. Edit. I'm editing this so people stop commenting without adding anything new to the conversation. Yeah, OP's wife sent mixed signals. However, mixed signals are not a free pass to skip communication altogether. There is also a huge difference between having your sisters visit you versus a mother-in-law. I will not be engaging on this post any further because frankly, this discussion is boring and I've had way too many notifications about it. Take care, you all. Next story. Update. Am I the heel for not inviting my friend Nancy to my courthouse wedding? Update. Brief summary. My friend Nancy got mad that I had a courthouse wedding and she wasn't invited, despite us only inviting our 2 witnesses and officiant, and also that I didn't remind her so she could share in my joy. She threatened to end the friendship and said I purposely excluded her. Since my first post, I tried to have a conversation with Nancy about how it made me feel that she turned my marriage into something about her instead of being supportive. But she gaslit me, and I ended up apologizing for making her feel excluded even though she is meant to be a bridesmaid in my actual wedding later this year, and literally no one but my 2 witnesses were invited to my courthouse wedding. As a commenter predicted, it was a behavior that would repeat itself during my wedding planning process. I decided to include her in one of my dress fitting appointments. I made the appointment 3 weeks in advance and she confirmed she'd be able to make it. 4 days before my appointment, she texted me saying she also made a wedding dress appointment on the same day as mine. She's engaged but doesn't have a wedding date yet, so I found this suspicious. I told her it made me uncomfortable that we should both be able to have our own days. But she insisted she couldn't cancel because everyone she invited already confirmed that it didn't bother her. When I called her out on how she's so far made every step of my marriage and wedding planning about her, and she's not once been truly present for me, she made herself a victim and said I spit vitriol at her for saying she's attempting to make things about her and I was being a fake friend. So I cut her out of my bridal party entirely and told her to have a nice life. She since then sent me paragraphs about how I'm a shitty person. I didn't read it all, deleted it, and don't intend on responding. Thank you to the commenters on my original post for helping me see she was a shitty friend. And a special thank you to the person who called out the fact that this would be a repeated behavior. You were right. Top comments. Here's a comment from Impossible Pause 3788. I'm glad you are able to disengage from her. I wish you the best moving forward and a drama-free wedding. Here's another comment from Impressive Amoeba 97. Yay, congrats on your wedding and your upcoming wedding. That sounds weird, but felicitations all the way around. And good on you for not bothering to read the texts. You don't need it to distract your focus. Have a great party. Here's another comment from Cookity Bookity. OP, I know it does sound weird, lol. I forget I'm married sometimes because we haven't had a wedding celebration yet, but I am indeed a Mrs. I wish she had ended her text barrage there, but a few more paragraphs flowed in a few days later and I had to block her. No one tells you friendship breakups hurt this much. Another comment from Miss Piggy. I wish you'd simply said, I read none of what you just wrote before blocking her. That would catch her totally off guard.